The galaxy had long known humanity as a quiet, unpredictable species. For centuries, the Galactic Council monitored human activity from afar, cataloging them as curious, primitive, yet potentially dangerous. Yet humans had remained largely invisible in galactic affairs, never overtly threatening any major interstellar empire. And so the Council grew complacent, assuming humanity was a footnote in the history of intelligent life. Then, one day, humans vanished. Not with fanfare, not with declarations of war or diplomacy, but silently. Entire planetary networks that once buzzed with human activity went dark. Observation satellites detected no transmissions, no energy emissions, nothing. Starships sent to investigate found empty planets, abandoned cities, and derelict orbital stations. The Council assumed some internal catastrophe had wiped humanity out, a viral plague, civil war, ecological collapse, but the truth would soon reveal itself to be far more terrifying. The Council convened an emergency session. Delegates from hundreds of species filled the grand chamber of the central orbital citadel, voices overlapping in a chaotic cacophony. The human anomaly was unprecedented. "Have the humans left any clue?" demanded Alarion Vreth, the reptilian ambassador from Dracora Prime, his claws tapping impatiently on the crystallized council table. "Nothing," replied Ambra Kyrell, the diplomat from Selenix, a species known for its psychic sensitivity. "It's as if they evaporated from existence. No warp trails, no communication logs, no distress signals. Nothing." A hushed silence followed. Even seasoned counselors were unnerved. Humanity's disappearance was more than a mystery. It was a challenge to the Council's authority and a growing threat. Meanwhile, far beyond the Council's domain, humans had not perished. They had merely withdrawn. Quietly, efficiently, they had evacuated their colonies, dismantled their infrastructure, and hidden in the uncharted edges of the Andromeda Reach, a cluster of dark, scarcely explored star systems. Their departure had been meticulous, leaving no trace behind for those who might follow. The reason for their silence was simple: observation. Humanity had been watching the Council for decades, learning, analyzing, and waiting. They had noted the Council's arrogance, its rigid hierarchy, its dependence on technology that humans now considered primitive. Every treaty, every Council edict, every act of diplomacy had been a lesson. And now, humans were ready to act. Months passed. The Council's panic grew as intelligence reports from scout fleets returned with disturbing anomalies. Mining colonies in the Saphira Belt were found abandoned. Warp corridors and strategic sectors were inexplicably blocked. Entire fleets disappeared without trace, leaving behind only scrambled transmissions filled with static and terror. The Council was losing control. Then came the first communication from humanity. Not a delegation, not a warning, but a broadcast that rippled across every subspace channel. The message was simple, chilling, and unmistakable. "We observed. We waited. Now you will pay the price of underestimating the species you dismissed." Panic surged through the Council. Strategic assessments were recalculated frantically. Military leaders demanded immediate strikes, but every attempt to locate the human core worlds failed. Humanity had mastered stealth technology far beyond anything the Council had imagined. Their ships were invisible not just to sensors, but to energy detection itself. The very fabric of space seemed to conceal them. It was then that the humans struck, not with overwhelming force, but with precision. Systems that the Council had considered vital suddenly failed. Communications collapsed, fleets were incapacitated, and artificial intelligence nodes critical for navigation and warfare were corrupted by sophisticated self-propagating code that humans had silently implanted years prior. Entire sectors descended into chaos. The council finally realized the horrifying truth. Humanity had weaponized absence. They had created a galaxy-wide shadow of influence without being physically present. Every decision the council made, every fleet they dispatched had already been anticipated and countered. Humanity's silent departure was not weakness, it was the ultimate strategy. In a desperate attempt to negotiate, the council attempted to send a delegation to the coordinates indicated in the human broadcast. When they arrived, they found nothing but an empty star system, surrounded by automated defense grids capable of annihilating even the largest warships. A single holographic projection activated, flickering into existence before the stunned delegates. It was a human, or rather a representation of one. Calm, composed, unthreatening, yet the voice carried the weight of centuries of calculated patience. "We underestimated you," the hologram said. "You assumed silence was submission. You assumed absence was weakness. You were wrong. The galaxy has changed, and you are no longer the arbiters of its future. We have prepared for every contingency, every war, every betrayal. Humanity will not be controlled. Humanity will not be enslaved. Humanity will endure, with or without your consent." The council was paralyzed. This was not an attack in the traditional sense. Humanity had not destroyed worlds, captured planets, or slaughtered armies. Yet in every counselor's mind, the implications were clear. The humans could, if they wished, erase the council entirely. And humanity had chosen restraint, not because they could not act, but because they had the power to act, and they had decided the galaxy was not yet ready for their full return. Months turned into years. The council struggled to adapt to a universe where one species held unseen dominion. Humans reappeared in controlled sectors, not as conquerors, but as subtle influencers, technological advisors, trade partners, and mediators, all while retaining the ultimate advantage of unpredictability. The galaxy learned a bitter lesson. To underestimate humanity was to invite catastrophe. And so the legend of humanity's silent departure spread. Across the stars, species whispered of a race that had vanished without warning, only to return at the perfect moment to remind the galaxy that true power is measured not in fleets or weapons, but in patience, strategy, and the terrifying knowledge that some forces should never be provoked. In the central orbital citadel, as the council reconvened in nervous whispers, Alarion Vreth muttered under his breath, claws trembling. "We did not see them leaving, and now we will never forget the price of our arrogance." The humans had departed silently, and the galaxy in its hubris had paid the horrifying price.